On the 1st of August 2024, young men and women decided to hit the streets and protest, chanting songs of end bad governance in Nigeria. Well, today, 12 days after, August the 12th of 2024, the protest might be over, but several conversations are still in order as regards how it went. This afternoon on the program, The Faculty, we shall be talking about the End Bad Governance protest, a post-mortem. Here with me to do conversation are wonderful gentlemen right here in the studio, although dressed in our native attire and looking very African. I have with me Henry NWANZE. Good to have you.
It's always a pleasure to be here in this program.
Beautiful pleasure. It's mine as well. Henry NWANZE is a wonderful analyst. He is one who loves to analyze issues in details, indeed paying attention to every little area as regards that issue. We're expecting to have that fully right here this afternoon. And also with us this afternoon is Sonny OGBEDO. He's a security expert. You can call him a media professional. He's gone round in terms of career and he's very knowledgeable. The Red Cap Chief by his right. He's right here with us to do the faculty. It's good to have you.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
My name, by the way, is Francis OFULUE, saying you're welcome to another wonderful moment on state television. It is time for the faculty. Now, you know that on this program, we like to reason things with our reasoning faculty. So the hashtag End Bad Governance is what we're going to talk about. But before we talk about the aftermath of the End Bad Governance protest, let's talk about the protest itself and how it fared. Let's hear what our panelists have to say. We saw the End SARS protest happen in this country. And fast forward now, we've seen the End Bad Governance protest. I want you to compare both of them in terms of success rate. And also in terms of, when we talk about success, we're talking about how active the people were as regards it, the feedback, the reaction. How would you rate both of them?
Yes, the question is a bit complex because both protests are different in every sense of the word. The NSAS took place in October 2020 was strictly against police brutality and against a section of the police unit, which is the SAS. And because of extrajudicial killings and some, high-handedness in the way they handle things, and that's why the people spoke out. It's quite different. And the demography was strictly, mainly the young people of Nigeria who spoke out. But in this case, it's the demography was much bigger because the issues at stake was, verbose, more than the issue of only police brutality. It was about hunger, it's against government economic policies, high fuel price, the removal of subsidy in fuel, and the attendant effect on the Nigerian people. And you discover that the demography did not just involve only the young people of Nigeria, even the elderly were involved. Just like we had the NSAS, we had celebrities also on both sides of the divide. So these, there are two different, as it were. Then on the issue of success, I think the word success is relative, as the case may be. What you may call success might not be success to me. But all I can say is that the underlying effect there was that the message was sent and the word heard loud and clear what the people were trying to, the message they were trying to pass. Even at the end of the day, even if some other, forces, actually didn't, play, they tried to play outside the script of the intention or the intent of the organizers of the protest. So as it were, it's a mixture of, it's a mixture of success and on the other and it's a mixture of failure because some of the issues were not properly addressed and some of the other things that we saw, in the background in terms of, like we'll talk later, the issue of the call for what's it called, the military to take over, or the call for the foreign nationals, whichever part of the prison you want to interpret that flag aspect, which if I'm given the opportunity, I'll be able to explain. It comes from both sides. So it's a mixture of, things, both success and failure.
All right, Chief OGBEDO, you heard the young man. You saw both protests. And I think he has really broken it down that there were two different kinds or two different reasons for the protest. One, like one we just had right now, is kind of vague. Very much. There were many areas that the people were clamoring against, and the NSAS protest was quite different. But let's hear your thought on the success rate of the current protest we had. That's the End Bad Governance protest.
Thank you very much. Every protest, no matter how small or how large, what is born out of that is a message. Message has been passed that we're experiencing bad governance in Nigeria. It has been passed to the present government and future government that will come. The question we'll ask ourselves is that, let me say every protest ends in success. Or message has been passed. But the one of answers, the one of this bad governance, there are more to talk about. You don't engage government being faceless. The aim of protest is that, let's take an example, you enter your house and you saw your wife's bag on the parlor and you zip the bag, you saw your wife properties inside, and you ask, why? I want to leave this house, I'm tired of this home. She does not want to leave her home. She wants dialogue. She wants a new lease of life. Okay. Then you will engage her, sit down, what's the problem? Let's talk it. But if you abandon her, that means you're even tired of the marriage. So this particular one, even the former one, government never mentioned a word to society about SARS. What they did was they removed SARS. So that is new wine in an old bottle.
Changing the nomenclature. That's all.
The same faceless people, no wearing uniform, no name tag, no ranks, which armed robbers can even dress the same way. They were leaders. Government was okay, come let us go to a discussion table. Okay, no problem. If you want us to discuss, one civil rights organization, even if it is faceless, reported there should be government agents. Let them go to Abuja and discuss our issues with them. If we are not satisfied, we can still go on our protest. If we are satisfied, but in this case, nobody to talk to. So it's like, may God forgive me, it's like action of barbarians those days, where everybody can just come out on his own, do whatever he wants to do, there's no control. So it was easily hijacked.
Talking about the end bad governance protest.
Yes.
This one.
It was easily hijacked. That of NSAS is even more tailored because there was no vandalism, there was no looting.
Eventually there was.
No, after people have been killed. Okay. That is it. If I slap you 2 times, you might not want to slap me back. But when you see blood, you will react.
Well, during the NSAS protest, there was also this call about who is your leader. They couldn't exactly pinpoint a leader during the NSAS
No.
protest.
The issue is, what I'm trying to say is this. You don't be faceless. You cannot be faceless. If I'm saying we are going to protest on behalf of DBS, we should be 4 or 5 people as leaders coming to say, government, we are the one leading this protest. Because, okay, come, what is your grievance?
So you think that the government did not exactly know what the problem was?
Look, the leaders were faceless. That is the truth.
So you, we are alluding now that gave the government some kind of challenge.
Nobody came out to say, we are leading the protest. We know how protests is being held, not only in Nigeria, in other countries. Some Labour Congress, some civil society, some opposition, like now, Labour Party can say we're going to protest. PDP can say we're going to protest against the federal government. Yeah. We know people who are organizing it. People can go say, "Cool, enough is enough. Stop, don't loot, don't destroy this one." Nobody has.
If you look at that picture there, you see the people who became informal leaders. We see clerics there moving and they're taking the people along.
So they have leaders now. So you can call the clerics, okay, come, let's discuss. Stand down. Don't go on protest, let us talk. Then bring out your list of demand. You don't demand something from government or social media.
But they had the placards. They were explaining some things. They even said...
let me tell you one thing. Carrying a placard is not enough.
Remove fuel subsidy.
Do you want the president to come out, collect all the placards from them? I take it to federal executive council at the placards.
But we all saw those placards.
No, look, see, we are learned in this country. Which high time we do things in a learned way.
Okay. Let's get to...
You stop saying,
yeah, but let's get to Henry.
Somebody who a group that was written the protest.
Look at this. Let's read this.
Yeah, no.
Clearly,
I beg to differ. Sorry.
Clearly.
I had to patiently listen.
Before we go on,
yes,
clearly,
yes.
you see those placards, it said reverse fuel subsidy. The placards were clear enough. Everybody kept talking about what
Placard is
talking about.
going
Francis,
so let's get to that.
Francis, it's not about the
Let's
placard.
get
I
to
have
that.
listened, patiently to what he said. I laugh at Nigerians, at the political elites, at our leaders, and even citizens using the word, the acronym faceless. What does it mean that people is faceless? That cannot be true. That is an inexcusable untruth, a white lie being concocted by the political elites to make it seem as if these people, they just came from nowhere. Are you not aware that there is this senior advocate of Nigeria, Adegborua, who went to the police and they invited him and he sat down with them and they talked? We had this guy who was leading the Take It Back campaign. These are human beings who appeared on live television and they analyzed all their views. I must tell you, and I will say it now and clear, this protest in itself was not faceless. They were led by people that we all know, and it didn't just end. Yes, it may have started from social media, but
you said we all know. Who are those people that we know?
I've just told you now. Some of the names, like the senior advocate of Nigeria, Adegborua, who was invited and he came, and some other person that
didn't go.
He went to the police.
No, they want to Zoom. No, Zoom meeting.
That's
you didn't go physically.
Hold on.
Zoom.
Whether Zoom, whether virtual or not, it's not
and
about
even on that part,
nobody know whether when you say somebody
somebody
is faceless, that means the person is a ghost. You do not know the identity of the person. So whether Zoom meeting or not, that means you've seen the person one-on-one. You can locate the person. You know the identity, the nomenclature of the person. So how can you call him faceless? You have this other guy, I can't remember his name now.
Sowore.
No, not even Sowore. I'm talking about the other person, Take It Back campaign, who led the campaign and stuff. He came on live television. These are not faceless persons. And do I need to tell you, from experience, there is what we call trust deficit. And it keeps deepening every day. Even with the attitude of this end bad governance protest, that nothing came out of it, the trust deficit is deepening every day. Because the people do not trust the leaders. And they have not given any reason for them to trust them. Now, listen. Okay. Now you will tell me whether the leaders come. Not with the intent to have a dialogue. Not with the intent of let's know what the problems are. But with the intent of harassing, with the intent of putting them behind bars to prevent them. Because when you cut off the head, that means the whole body will be, once the head is decapitated, the body cannot go. Because of the experiences of the past, people have decided not to. Okay, imagine. Section 40 of the Constitution has guaranteed, has given Nigerians, every citizen of Nigeria, an inalienable right for peaceful assembly and for right of association. How can you now be telling people to stop protests? There were all sorts of things labeled. The word faceless was just one among many. That the protest is illegal, it is done by this and the end of it. At the end of the day, when they saw that he hit a brick wall, that legally speaking, that this protest, that the people had a right, they didn't have any choice but to go and secure a frivolous court order to restrict the people to be at a particular principle. Because there was no way you could go against Section 40 of the Constitution. My people, I'm telling you now, here and now, that the protest was not led by faceless persons, but by Nigerians that we all know. Okay. They are people that we know.
Okay. You know, when we say we all know, I want to talk in line with what Chief was trying to express earlier on. I hope I'll be right while trying to share these thoughts. Now, we say it was not faceless, that there were, it means that we had leaders.
Of course, we had leaders.
So, do you believe that if these leaders were spoken to, that they would have influenced the people to stop the protest or continue the protest?
All right, very good question.
Because that's what leaders do.
Very, very good question. Now, there are two sides to it. If you meet me now as you are my father, is elderly to us, and he comes and there's a rancor in the house, and he tells, and I say, okay, my son, what is the problem? You've been carrying your face since morning, very long face. What's the problem? And I now sit down and say, Dad, look at the problems I have, this. And he said, okay, my son, there are not enough funds now for me to execute this project or what you want me to do. But this is how we're going to do it. Let us work out a plan. Maybe we'll have to pull out some of these things and don't do this. There is this interaction between the two of you. And that thing has been built over time. It's not something you just wake up to do. But by the time you have a father who does not keep to his promises, a father who makes hollow promises, and he tells you this, he speaks on both sides of the mouth, would you, in your right senses, trust that your father? That's the situation between the Nigerian government and the led. Over time, you are telling us to come. Let us reason together. Whereas you would not fulfill your promise because you are an evil agenda. It took how long for the president to address Nigerians? We all wonder whether the president was in hiding. Come and address the people. Even before the protest, he said something now the other time. There was a long warning, information about this protest before August 1st. What did the federal government do? It was when it was getting to the tail end, when it was getting very close, that the federal government had to panic measures, trying to look for the leaders. Since they could not get them, they started calling them faceless, calling all kinds of, cast all kinds of aspersions on them. So the point is that there's a trust deficit, and the government has not done anything enough to show that they can be trusted, and that is why the people cannot come to them.
All right, a very, very, very strong one. We see people protesting, expressing their thoughts, sharing their hearts. Indeed, the hunger is hitting the land. I think that no matter how hard we scream right here, we're still screaming in one voice. We want this country to be fair on us all. We want to survive. I know Daddy here wants to see his children and grandchildren happy. I know that Henry also wants to see his children, his family happy. We want to live happily ever after. But the protest has stopped right now. 10 days after, everyone has gone back, hoping that something, the narrative will change. Is there any change so far, Chief, that you have seen as regards the protest?
You see,
after all said and done?
When you look at Nigeria, I said the problem we had with the protests was lack of leadership on the part of the protesters. Adequate leadership. This is Nigeria. It's our land. If we agree as Nigerians we want to fight bad governance, and we kept 210 people in front, and you detain them.
But let me comment. You said something about leadership. Let's go to the people of Biafra now and talk about the man who posed as the leader. Do you think that's a kind of example for people to know that? Remember the NSAS protest when Davido was called?
We are talking of protests.
Yes.
We are not talking of secession. We are not talking of revolution.
Maybe that example wouldn't have been a perfect example.
Yes.
Let's leave that out of it.
Let me tell you what.
Let's not use that example.
Since we started protests in Nigeria, no protests have been bloody like 1848 French Revolution that changed the entire Europe. Led by who? Napoleon Bonaparte. There was a leader.
That was the French Revolution.
There was a leader, Napoleon Bonaparte. He was known. And all they wanted was declare everybody equal, not all of us start from scratch. You know what I'm saying now? And probably that one changed them. But this one, who is government going to discuss with them? We don't have representatives.
Now, you know my problem.
Another one you must also see is that the government is not doing what they should do. This is a country where my school fees for a term was 10 naira. For a year, 10 naira is both hostel school fees, including my feeding, tuition, it's 10 naira. This is the same country where 15,000 was buying a brand new 544 car that president was using, and if you were buying the same car. This same country that a loaf of bread is 10 naira, 5 naira. No, 2 naira. Loaf of bread, 10 kobo, 15 kobo. Good. Now the problem we're having is that since that time till now, question will ask that, how did we get here to this point? You are going to Asaba, you missed your way. How did you get to Aba? So you didn't ask question in Onitsha. You didn't ask in Wiri. You saw yourself in Aba. How did we get here? Why? Because the reason is that people that have been ruling this country since 1960, if Awolowo is alive, Zik is alive, they would have still been in government. They still recycle themselves in the system. But one became president at less than 30 years old. President of this country. At 40 years, then you can't even find yourself in House of Reps. How much for being a governor of a state?
You were canvassing for
you use your energy to canvass for somebody who is 75 years old to be the governor of a state. So because how did we get here? Now, people say, okay, whether faceless or no faceless, I don't have people you can discuss with. Good. But you remember that you call Adegboruwa, you call Falano to talk. You can still call these people to discuss. And then let them, China probably won't have known what and what people, even if no single right about it. Then secondly, what is the thank you message from the federal government? Fuel dropping from 750 to 950. 900 the cheapest, 9 filling stations. Some 950, some no fuel at all. That's the thank you after this protest.
So the protest brought more hardship.
Yes. So that shows how responsive
our government is. Yeah, I think
Henry, has it gotten to a stage where the princess is screaming, if you can't get bread, get cake in Nigeria? Has it gotten to that point?
I don't even think you should even ask him for cake. Cake will be a luxury item.
You know what I'm alluding to? Remember the French Revolution
yes.
and how the princess came and said...
I know. Yeah.
Has it gotten to this point where President Bola Tinubu is telling Nigerians, if you can't get bread, get cake?
The point is they've made it, whether overtly or covertly, all their nuances and the case as the case may be. Because see, sometimes you don't have to even say it, openly. But your actions and your policies will determine that. He just said something now.
Yes.
We have a government, and that has been the problem with Nigerian leadership over time.
Yeah.
The problem of not being responsive to the needs, to the yearnings and aspiration of the citizen. The citizen, as it were, is supposed to be the #1 priority of any government, according to Section 40, subsection 2B, which says the security and welfare of our citizens is the primary purpose of government. But what do we have in this case? We are talking about tackling within security issues. The welfare of Nigerians is not even their concern. It's of no concern. Because if it's of concern, for instance, the president made a broadcast that, whoa, Eureka, we found it. The president finally addressed Nigerians. He failed to address the elephant in the room. Kept on telling us the same stories they've been. Tell us what you have been doing. Don't tell us that you've been doing this, and we are not seeing it. You've been telling us this whole thing. And up to this moment, we haven't seen anything. Now, the issue I have with the leaders, let me come to one angle. The problem, if you remember before the protest, there were already a lot of political undertone being painted that is being sponsored by the opposition. Yes. Because there are certain persons like the PDP who said they supported the protest. And some individuals who are very good in this country. If you, for instance, Francis, and you are being known for, you are affiliated to a particular political party or affiliated to a particular group, as the case may be, and you come out and say you are supporting this protest, they would now want to change the narrative that this protest is being sponsored, just like they keep saying all the time. That that's why, so the issue of getting individuals to come and the rest of it, we know the Nigerian government, they will change the narrative. Just like the issue of the flag, that maybe...
Let's talk about the flag.
Yes.
Because that's another elephant in the room.
Good.
What is wrong about these men carrying a Russian flag, as they called it? Some said the flag was only
It's not Russian flag. Do I need to
Some said it's Russian, some said it's military. But then I've looked at some of the parts of the Constitution,
yes.
Section 37 of the Constitution, talking about treason and the rest of them, and I didn't see any place that alluded carrying a flag from that country.
Now,
I spoke to the NBA chairman of the state, and he said he doesn't see any place in that lifting of that flag,
good.
Even if it was Russian flag, that referred to treason. So I am asking. It looks like you are impatient, so I'm going to do this suspense.
No problem.
I'm going to Chief now, because I know Chief is a former policeman. So I wonder how he would have reacted as a policeman if he had seen people carrying another flag during a protest. And I'm trying to tell you that the NBA chairman, Delta State, I had a conversation with him about the flag, and he said clearly that there was nothing wrong about carrying the flag, except they have to translate it into other laws, but it doesn't concern treason, first of all. If you saw people carrying the flag, as a policeman, or as let's say you're advising them a consultant, what would be the reaction of the police?
It's a ECOWAS flag, not in our office in Abuja. Okay. Most of these churches today, they don't have flags of other nations, but they have their branches in their places. See, the problem in this country is that did you see any citizen in the south carrying any flag? The Northerners have reduced off to a piece of bread. By failing, they rule this country for more than 40 years. And they didn't train their youths. They don't even know what is flag. They don't even know what they're carrying. As far as they're concerned, they're carrying a piece of flag and a piece of cloth. They used to wipe their face with sweat. If they're carrying flag of the Benin, probably because your flag come and take over Nigeria, we know you are calling for trouble.
So they just carry the flag.
They don't know what they are doing.
The flag.
They are illiterate.
It's ignorance and excuse in the law.
Let me tell you one thing. Before, Nigerians have been suffering from tribalism in this country. Later, religion joined. Now, illiteracy in the north has joined. Plus drug. So even when they are carrying, asking who owns this flag, they don't even know. Piece of cloth. That is their own. You know, Fulanis, they like this.
There's a flag there
they don't
on
even
our
know
screen.
As a which flag is, they don't even know.
They paraded them around the place.
Watch it is showing now. Some blue, red, white, some only white. They don't even know what they are doing.
Okay.
I don't look at it as a flag of any nation, but whoever calls it flag of a nation, with that, as far as I'm concerned, they're not carrying piece of rags.
Okay.
And then secondly, we must understand that a lot of illiterates in the north. Throughout 8 years of Buhari, did these people protest? Like when the hardship started. Even when they called for protest, they did it. Now your man is there and you are protesting. For how long? For 1 year. Allow him stay 7 years like your brother.
Should we allow him to stay 7 years?
Yeah, they.
Okay, they should.
Yeah, because even when their brother was there, we were shouting, they refused. They even protested against us.
Chief, if we keep waiting, if for instance,
No,
after Tinubu is done and an Igbo man comes out, okay, let's wait our turn.
This is where we find ourselves. There are roots to these problems. It's not only about those people sitting down there. We have to deal with religion. We have to deal with tribal sentiments. We have to deal with drug. We have to deal with illiteracy, mostly in the north.
Right.
Lack of education. Nobody will tell you that to go to where they're firing.
Okay, Chief, I don't want us to leave the flag issue because I remember how Henry NWANZE was so curious. Anyway, that was one fantastic dancing skill from the man on TV there. Would have loved to see more of that. But let's talk about the flag there.
Yes, I've said it in different fora.
Yeah.
You see, it's just a case of changing the narrative. It's just a case of, changing the discourse from what it actually is to, distracting Nigerians from the message behind the protest.
Yeah.
When the protest started in Lagos, Abuja, and some states in the country, it was relatively peaceful from day 1 to day 5. It degenerated at some point to 6 and 7 when the security forces, as usual, being high-handed and being overzealous, started dispersing the crowd, even when they were not provoked, with tear gas, and there were reported cases of human rights abuses in the southern part of Nigeria.
Yeah.
But from the very blast of the whistle, like Chief said, we can all agree on one thing. Illiteracy has eaten deep. The proportion of out-of-school children in the north, no thanks to the leadership from 1960 that has mainly skewed into the, we're having the northern part of the country ruling the country. They've deliberately left those people in that, penury and being
weaponized poverty.
Exactly, that's the word. They weaponized poverty, and they made sure that they were not able to, understand what the value of education is, for the purpose of being able to manipulate them. So that is one of the reasons. But that being said, the military, in their response, said that was the Russian flag, of which the Russian Federation itself denied and said they had nothing to do with it. Now, I had to now go deep into some of all these videos, and there was this viral video of some Hausa boys,
yes,
these boys, speaking Hausa and saying that they are tired of democracy, they are tired of this, and they need the military to take over.
Yeah.
And I had to dig back and go back, and I discovered that that flag is the same as the Nigerian military flag. If you go back, if you can get the clip of the president's address,
yeah,
when the president addressed the nation, if they can, the PD can go back to that address, and you see that the green, white, green was on one side, yeah, the military flag was on one side. You will look at the picture of that flag. He is the commander-in-chief of the Federal Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Yeah, look at the flag there.
That's the flag, and that's exactly the flag that was being raised. So the military was just trying to play to the gallery and to change the narrative that is treason, and they are raising the flag of. Thank God the Russian Federation said there was nothing like that. They were not supporting the country. So the point is, it's just a case of giving a dog a bad name to hang it. The message is that the people are tired, they are hungry, and the government need to act. And the government should stop playing to the gallery. Like I keep saying, it's not about the Tinubu administration. It's about the entire government from every level, both the national and subnationals. Because even our governors are to be held accountable. It is not just the president. If we're talking about it, we're looking at it holistically. It's not only in Abuja, it's not only in Lagos, in the states of the federation. They have all failed because what they do is to go to Abuja every month like a Bambiala looking for federal allocation. At the end of the day, there is nothing to show in the states. They end up doing white elephant projects, nothing that will translate to helping the lives of Nigerians or delivering the dividends of democracy. So when we talk about end bad governance in Nigeria, it has nothing to do only with the federal government or Tinubu administration. It has to do with government at all levels, both the national and subnational levels.
We've spoken about the military now, so let's talk about the military and how they've been acting ever since. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Terud Lagbaja, Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Iman Like Chukogala, and Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Bubakar, in several addresses on Tuesday during the protest, urged officers not to heed call by subversive elements. But they said something, and the catch quote was, "We will defend democracy with the last drop of our blood." That was a good statement, though. But let's talk about the fact that they said, during part of their conversations, they were calling for media blackout of the protest. Was that the right thing to do? Because as a scholar of mass communication, I learned that you can have media blackout on terrorism activities to kill the actions of terrorists so that you can discourage them. But for protesters who are legitimate Nigerians and who have a right to protest according to sections of the Constitution, we've talked about section 40. And even, they have the right to association at the same time too. What are your thoughts about that particular statement?
It's still the same thing I've been talking about, insincerity or purpose.
They asked us to go blackout. I took that personally because this is my job. This is what I do. I should broadcast that. So they're saying that we shouldn't even have this conversation in the first place. That's what they're saying, invariably.
Let me clear something. In as much as we're talking about the flag, whether Russian or military, like I said in various fora, I'm going to repeat it again. In as much as whatever their decisions or whatever their intent was, I keep saying democracy is the best form of government. And so for those calling for a change or a regime change, I totally condemn in its entirety. I'm going to say this on live television. Now, that being said, the issue we're talking about is the issue of distrust, insincerity, and the fact that you leave the issues and you're chasing shadows. Now, how can you be calling for a blackout? It goes to show, the undertone, the reason behind don't go for this protest. And I tell you solemnly, if Article, Section 40 of the Constitution is not, our Constitution is not the ground norm, and if you go against it, it's against the spirit and letters of the Constitution, and it is pellucid, and that legal luminaries like Femi Salana-San has copiously quoted it and has said it is the inalienable right of every Nigerian to go on a protest, they would have clamped down on anybody. It would have been bloodier than we are seeing. But because they discovered that it is not something you can fight against, it is there before you, all they needed to do was just to go to a court, get a frivolous court order to restrict the people. Like they restricted people in Abuja to Moshood Abiola stadium, and some places in Lagos it was the Ganifawe Enemy Park, and the other one, and in Ojota, and the other one in K2, as the case may be. That was all they could do. But it is totally wrong. It is unconstitutional, null and void for the military or the security forces to have asked for a blackout. That shows they do not even understand what the Constitution entails. That every Nigerian has a right to personal liberty, a right of freedom of association, a right to be able to make, to have a peaceful assembly. For you to have done that, that is the reason why we see some cases where you see they want to gag the press. They want to ensure that you obfuscate the press, that they will not be able to. For God's sakes, what are you afraid of? What are they afraid of? So it clearly shows they don't understand the rules of engagement. At this point in time, they're not trying to be professional, because it is unprofessional and unconstitutional for them to have wanted to black out the entire media.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's get to Chief now. I always come to you with police questions, because you work there, so pardon me. We heard about cases of brutalization, even for journalists too. They suffered also. They were victims of the protest, just trying to do their job. They were brutalized. We heard about cases of casualties and the rest of them. How would you rate the actions of law enforcement agents all through the protest?
Let me start from my question before this one. Let's understand this very clear.
Yes.
The number one enemy to democracy is the media.
The media?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pointing the
Number one enemy, I'm saying it loud and clear.
In the media house?
Number one enemy, yeah, I'm a journalist.
Please allow him finish and let him make it.
Number one enemy to democracy is the media.
All right.
Remember, one of our duties to set public agenda, public debates, and then it was also a light to people's opinion. So when physical media is on, social media is a center for rumor. Everything I see in social media, I take it as rumor, unless I hear it physically. But in physical media, radio and television, it is normal. It is believed. I set an agenda for public discourse. That is media. So when they want to carry out protests and they know the areas the media will focus on, they will see they'll focus on extraordinary from the ordinary. Like I showed you that thing, I said, look at that guy dancing steps. There was one guy carrying a Nigerian flag. Nobody showed it. Someone was carrying a Nigerian flag there. Nobody talked about it. But they showed the first flag now. They're not going to point a different thing. So that is media. They don't want to see. Media is number one enemy to democracy. Because they expose their evils. That is. And coming to security agencies, yes, I served government for 35 years. But it's unfortunate that if what is going on, the average soldier, average policeman, average Air Force man is also facing a hardship. But people don't even know the duties of these people. And that's why the government decided to kill our orientation agencies. Not even tell the public what you stand for. So when they say policeman, they look at it, you want to arrest me like normal traffic offense. So policemen are looked at in such scenario as enemies. And then the problem is that police must go with all the gadgets, they must go with battering, they must go with smoke, they must go with arms. Why? They must see the situation. If the routers are using arms, then they point the riot with arms. If they are using just hand and sticks, you use battering and smokes. If the women and children, it is difficult. You don't use smokes when there are children. If there are old people, you don't use smokes. That's why you saw in advanced forward attack, most of the time, they put elders in front. You can't smoke them. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
this is there in their training. But the men don't allow a policeman to hear more. In your midst, that's why we're talking about leadership in protest. Is make sure nobody should carry arm among us. And people will abide by the leadership instruction. Now the police has ways where they can use their firearms. Well, their life is in danger. You want to snatch my arm? I see you pursue to kill another person. You never can save his life is by using my arm to bring you down for that person to be alive because you don't value life any longer. You want to kill me to take my arm? In fact, before you take my arm, you will drop dead. Because that arm is my next brother, as far as I'm carrying it.
Okay.
So there are reasons where you use your firearms. So when they see policemen with firearms and it's so crowded, I talked about drug now. Most people have taken drug, even look at you carrying arm as you are carrying stick. So we'll go and grab an arm. And they be to wrestle the arm with the policeman, it will discharge. Some of our policemen too, there are some that even before they say I go to I say to that will kill, you don't take drug. It is not a personal struggle. The struggle they are going for also involves you. Some of our boys even they say pay. Supposing that this is not even where they earn salary from government to get the new salary scheme. But they are the ones that are even killing. So police using arm on the public for protest is wrong. But if the protest generates to looting, it's no longer protest, it's stealing. It's stealing. And the only way you can prevent the looters is by using arms.
In what sense?
But I think the question, Chief, sir, with due respect, is I agree with what you just said. That is the convention.
We're talking of police activity.
Yes, you're talking about the convention.
Yeah.
But the question is, how did you see how will I put it now?
The way the police
handled this entire project. That's the point.
Because we heard
because on
stories
your
about
convention, I can understand. Yes, when
I want to tell you.
What about 13 protesters being killed?
I want to tell you one thing.
Even when they were unprovoked.
In 1984, when Buhari Dagbo came into power, the same Buhari, Sonadeusi, the then IG, just acquired riot equipment for the police force, tanks and so on, armored cars and so on for riot. They thought probably the civilian want to equip them not to counter their coup. They carried all these vehicles, seized them. By the time they found out that it is not a conventional military wear, they destroyed all the gadgets. These are computer-laden vehicles that you can set the vehicle and then you program 3 kilometers in your vehicle and you stay here and then you pump your water from here down.
Good, very
it
good.
will land at 3 kilometers and disperse my waters.
But we don't have those now, do we have that?
No, they destroyed it. As it's getting now, police have been handicapped in equipment. Only a few arms they have, and the public will overwhelm them. Before you escape, what do you do? But what I'm telling you, I challenge anybody to come and tell me now, in any police outfit in Nigeria, whether they can come out to challenge me now, whether they have enough tear gas to query riots, whether they have enough shields. How many policemen carrying shield?
There's no shield. There's nothing like shield.
And a helmet
There's
when
nothing
you
like
saw
shield.
them. No. How many?
Yes,
if you are going for riot, you must carry a helmet.
And
because you
shield.
expect that the people will throw stones.
Exactly.
You must carry shield because they must throw stones and use sticks.
So the police are not even well protected.
They are not equipped for riot.
Why we agree?
That's all
Why we
They're not
agree
well
to that?
protected. Okay, let's
Why
get to
we
Henry.
agree? I totally agree. Hook, line, and sinker to his conventions of how to deal with protests.
Yes.
That's ceteris paribus. That is supposed to be the convention. And the fact that they have a challenge
Let's
in terms
wrap
of
it up
the
then.
gadget. The point now is, how did they handle it? That's the point. And there's been a problem not with this protest,
But with the NSAS.
NSAS, and even other protests that have because
Okay,
the police has a mindset.
let me tell you one thing.
Yes.
Let me tell you.
Let's
one
hurry up. We're done.
I told us about illiteracy. We saw the Commissioner of Police at those states. He went straight to their midst, pleaded with them, even supply them pure water.
Even the
supply
one
them even
that of Rivers State.
yes, and then
that of Rivers State.
yes, and then he went with them, and nothing was looted, nothing was destroyed. The one in Kano, where the killing started in Niger State.
Yes.
They didn't want to even see policemen.
Okay.
No, I think yes.
That's the level of
gentlemen, I'm
Yes.
sorry, but we have to even stop the conversation
Yes,
about
I think the
police
problem.
first. We have to stop because our time is really up.
So police is on a crossroad.
There's so much to talk about. I'm so sorry, Henry. I'm sorry,
It's okay.
mother.
It's a
But
full
before we
topic.
go, what should be the next line of action from the government as regards the protest that has happened and the aftermath?
Yes, like I said, the president had missed the opportunity to address the elephant in the room. Now, that being said, the issues that have been haunting and taunting us is still there. The issue of bad economic policies, the issue, especially the issue of the reversal of the fuel subsidy, whether there's fuel subsidy or there's no fuel subsidy, so many hue and cry whether it's still there or not. The attendant effect in terms of our transportation, in terms of the cost of fuel, in terms of the high cost of living. These are issues the government needs to address. And in addressing them, they have to be holistic, not just saying it by words.
Well, actions.
Don't tell us you've given 20 trucks
All
of rice to each state.
We'll have more from you from our morning ride breakfast shows, I promise, our dear viewer. From Chief,
I expected to be able to have pleaded to Nigerians about the loss of lives during the protest and pay compensation. I expected Tinubu to have set up a committee to look into the complaints of the public and then know what they start and tell us how they're going to now ameliorate the surface of it. It can't be one day issue.
all right.
But he has not spoken to that area. That's the area Nigerians want to hear.
All right. Thank you so much, Chief Sonny OGBEDO and Henry NWANZE. Good to have both of you in the studio. I tell you, the cry is quite simple. We want hunger to leave our land. Those who are protesting and those who are quiet want the same thing. And we want the government to take action. Start now. Put in the work and ensure that the people see the light at the end of the tunnel and not die before they get to the end of that tunnel. This has been The Faculty. My name is Francis OFULUE. Join us tomorrow. We come even stronger. Goodbye.